Hi, I'm Jamie. I got two books for you today. Hope you enjoy them. The first one is called Thunder Cake, and it's written by Patricia Polacco. On a sultry summer day, my grandma's farm in Michigan, the air gets damp and heavy. Storm clouds drift low over the fields. Birds fly close to the ground. The clouds glow for an instant with a sharp crackling light, and then a roaring, low, tumbling sound of thunder makes the windows shudder in their panes. The sound used to scare me when I was little. I loved to go to Grandma's house, but Bushka, as I used to call my grandma, had come from Russia years before. But I feared Michigan's summer storms. I feared the sound of thunder more than anything. I always hid under the bed when the storm moved near the farmhouse. This is the story of how my grandma, my babushka, helped me overcome my fear of thunderstorms. Grandma looked at the horizon and drew a deep breath and said, "This is a thunder cake baking weather, all right, looking like the storm is coming here to me." "Child, you come out from under that bed. It's only thunder you're hearing," my grandma said. The air was hot, heavy and damp. A loud clap of thunder shook the house, rattled the windows, and made me grab her close. "Steady, child," she cooed. "Unless you let go of me, we won't be able to make a thunder cake today." "Thunder cake?" I stammered as I hugged her even closer. "Don't pay attention to that old thunder, except to see how close the storm is getting. When you see the lightning, start counting, real slow. When you hear the thunder, stop counting. That number is how many miles away the storm is. Understand?" she asked. "We need to know how far away the storm is so we have time to make the cake and get it into the oven before the storm comes, or it won't be a real thunder cake." Her eyes surveyed the black clouds way off in the distance. Then she strode into the kitchen. Her worn hands pulled a thick book from the shelf above the wood stove. "Let's find that recipe, child," she crowed as she lovingly fingered the grease-stained pages to a creased spot. "Here it is, thunder cake." She carefully penned the ingredients on a piece of notepaper. "Now, let's gather all the things we'll need," she exclaimed as she scurried toward the back door. We were by the barn door when a huge bolt of lightning flashed, and I started counting like Grandma told me to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then the thunder roared. 10 miles. It's 10 miles away, Grandma said, as she looked at the sky. "About an hour away, I'd say. You have to hurry, child. Gather them eggs careful like," she said. Eggs from the mean old Nellie Peck hen. I was scared. I knew she would try to peck me. I'm here. She won't hurt you. Just get them eggs," Grandma said softly. The lightning flashed again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I counted 9 miles, Grandma reminded me. Milk was next, milk from the old kick cow. As Grandma milked her, Kick Cow turned and looked mean right at me. I was scared. She looked so big. Zip went the lightning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I counted. Boom went the thunder. 8 miles, child, Grandma croaked. Now we have to get chocolate and sugar and flour from the dry shed. I was scared as we walked down the path from the farmhouse through tangleweed woods to the dry shed. Suddenly the lightning hit the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I counted. Boom, ba-boom, crashed the thunder. It scared me a lot, but I was walking with Grandma. After a jagged edge of lightning flashed as I crept into the dry shed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I counted. Crackle, crackle, boom, cow, boom, kaboom, the thunder bellowed. It was dark and I was scared. I'm here, child, Grandma said softly from the doorway. Hurry now, we haven't got much time. We've got everything but the secret ingredient. 3 overripe tomatoes and some strawberries, Grandma whispered as she squinted at the list. I climbed up high on the trellis. The ground looked a long way down. I was scared. I'm here, child, she said. Her voice was steady and soft. You won't fall. I reached 3 luscious tomatoes while she picked strawberries. Lightning again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I counted. Kabang, boo, room, the thunder growled. We hurried back to the house and the warm kitchen, and we measured the ingredients. I poured them into the mixing bowl while Grandma mixed. I churned butter for the frosting and melted chocolate, and finally we poured the batter into the cake pans and put them into the oven together. Lightning lit the kitchen. I only counted to 3, and the number rumbled and crashed. 3 miles away, Grandma said, and the cake is in the oven. We made it. We'll have real thunder cake. As we waited for the cake, Grandma looked out the window for a long time. Why aren't you afraid of thunder? You're too brave, she said. She looked right at me. I'm not brave, Grandma. I said, I was under the bed, remember? But you got out from under it, she answered, and you got your eggs from mean old Nellie Peck hen, you got milk from old Kick Cow, you went through tangleweed woods to the dry shed, you climbed the trellis in the barnyard. From where I sit, only a very brave person could have done all them things. I thought and thought as the storm rumbled closer. She was right. I was brave. Brave people can't be afraid of sound, child, she said, as we spread out the tablecloth and set the table. When we were done, we hurried to the kitchen to take the cake out of the oven. After the cake had cooled, we frosted it. Just then, the lightning flashed, and this time it lit the whole sky. Even before the last flash had faded, thunder. Boom! Crashed. Ba-bam! Boom! Just above us, the storm was here. Perfect, Grandma cooed. Just perfect. She beamed as she added the last strawberry to the glistening chocolate frosting on top of our thunder cake. As rain poured down on our roof, Grandma cut a wedge for each of us. She poured us steaming cups of tea from the samovar. When the thunder roared above us so hard it shook the windows and rattled the dishes in the cupboards, we just smiled and ate our thunder cake. From that time on, I never feared the voice of thunder again. Hope you enjoyed that one. I have another book. It's called Gifts from the Garbage Truck. But it's a true story about the things we don't throw away. It's written by Andrew Larson, and the pictures are by Oriole Vidal. And here's a letter from Nelson Molina. Dear reader, I was born and raised in New York City, in East Harlem, in a neighborhood called El Barrio, which means the neighborhood in Spanish. Many of my neighbors in the community, like my parents, were originally from Puerto Rico. Gifts from the Garbage Truck is the story of how I created the Treasures in the Trash, an amazing museum of 45,000 items that I found in the garbage of El Barrio. I cleaned, repaired, and arranged the objects over my 34 years as a New York City sanitation worker. There's nothing in the world quite like it. Growing up, we didn't have a lot. When I was a child, my mother taught me not to waste anything we could use again and to repair what could be saved. We didn't look at things and say, this is worthless. Instead, we look for the value in everything. My mother always kept boxes of outgrown clothes that she would share with others in our family. I once watched her fix a broken toaster using a butter knife instead of a screwdriver because we didn't have any tools. Following her lead, when I was about 10 years old, I started looking through old toys people had thrown out. I would bring some back to my 5 brothers and sisters. I could see how much joy it brought them, and that brought me joy too. Once I became a sanitation worker, I continued doing what I've done since childhood, taking things out of the trash to give them another life. This was the perfect job for me. I hope you also find something you love and are good at. Then follow that into a job you love when you grow up. Today, all kinds of people come to see my collection of objects I save from the garbage. I love when a visitor sees something that sparks a memory of their life in New York. With joy on our faces, we talk about it and become friends. I also try to arrange things beautifully so that the visitors will pause and think about the trash in their lives. I hope they leave considering how they might rescue, recycle, upcycle, or more, finding beauty in the things they used to think of as garbage. As you grow up, start to look for the value in everything before you say it's worthless. Try to give it a new life, and remember, there's beauty in the world around you, and it's worth sharing. Now I'd like to tell you the story. Nelson Molina collected things. He collected all kinds of things, like the scraps of wood he found on his way to school. Nelson's mom showed him how to use scraps of wood to make birdhouses. If someone can use it, don't throw it away, she liked to say. She was an expert at reusing and recycling. Nelson's dad was a merchant marine. He traveled the world on great big ships and sent letters home to Nelson. Nelson collected every stamp from every letter. He displayed some stamps by color. He displayed some stamps by theme, like birds or boats. The displays told stories about the faraway places his dad had been. One day, Nelson was checking on his birdhouses when he noticed something in a trash can. It was a toy garbage truck that was missing a wheel. Why would anyone throw this away, Nelson wondered. I know someone who would love it. Nelson cleaned the truck when he got home. He painted it white, just like a New York City garbage truck, and then he found a big button to replace the missing wheel. It looked as good as new. Nelson gave it to his little brother. I love it, said his brother, eyes wide with wonder. It was snowy in New York City in the weeks before Christmas. People were throwing away old toys to make room for new ones. Nelson had a better idea. On Christmas morning, Nelson had a gift for each of his siblings. Each gift had been found and fixed. Each had a story, and each was special in its own way. When Nelson grew up, he didn't travel the world on a great big ship. He became a trash collector. His official title was New York City sanitation worker. He rode around in a great big garbage truck working on the streets where he used to play. Everything he loved was right there in his own neighborhood. Being a trash collector was hard work. There were tons of trash to collect each day. Nelson worked in the heat, the cold, the rain, the snow. He filled up his garbage truck and then he drove to the dump. At the dump, everything was put into containers and shipped out of town. Some of it was burned and turned into electricity, and some of it was buried deep underground, and some of it was recycled. Often, Nelson came across an oddly shaped bag. It clinked or clanked and jingled and jangled. Is there something more than trash in here, Nelson wondered? Is there something someone might love? I knew it, he exclaimed, tearing the bag open. A gift from the garbage. Nelson didn't throw these gifts into the back of the truck with everything else. He had a better idea. Nelson brought the objects he found back to the sanitation garage. He displayed them in the locker room so everyone at work could see them. There were toys and teapots and yo-yos and photos. There were knickknacks and thingamajigs and whatchamacallits. People throw away the most extraordinary things. One day, one of Nelson's bosses wanted the display to be taken down. It's against the rules, he said. But everyone loves it, said another boss. If more people saw this, maybe they'd think twice about things they throw away. The display stayed. Sometimes an object Nelson found was broken or needed extra care, and he was happy to repair it. He was even happier if it wasn't going to the dump. Each object was special in its own way, and Nelson found a place for them all. Piece by piece, year after year, Nelson's collection grew. It grew from the locker room into the offices and the stairwells. It grew into the main garage. Some displays were arranged by color. Others were arranged by theme, like birds and boats. The displays tell stories about Nelson's neighborhood and the lives of its people. Nelson's extraordinary collection has grown up to become a museum. People from all around the world would come see it. It's not far from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's an invitation to think differently about the things we throw away. It's Nelson Molina's gift to us all. Then it talks about the rules of recycling, and it shows some pictures of Nelson and his truck. Hope you enjoyed that. Till next time, bye.
Hi, I'm Sharon Kimball. Welcome to Lunenburg Storytime. Today, my first book is about Misty Copeland. She wrote it about an experience she had herself. Misty Copeland, in 2015, was named the first African-American principal dancer of the American Ballet Theater. That was a huge accomplishment. This is called Bunheads, and if you like dance and ballet, I hope you enjoy this. It's illustrated by Setor Fiedzibski, and Misty wrote it herself. They each have a quote on the inside. Misty writes, "This is for those who love to dance, who dance because it gives you a voice, power, beauty, hope, and joy. You are all beautiful, and I celebrate everything that makes you unique. To all of my little bunheads, dance your dance and live your dreams." And the illustrator dedicated to his wife for always believing in me, and to his daughter, who always brings me joy. Here's the story. When Miss Bradley announced they'd be performing the ballet Coppelia for the recital, everyone in Misty's class shouted excitedly and gathered around to hear their teacher tell the story of Coppelia. Misty didn't know what Coppelia meant, and she was too shy to ask, especially since it was her first ballet class ever. So Misty took a spot on the floor, and before she knew it, she was completely entranced as Miss Bradley told the tale. Once upon a time, an odd, old toy maker made a beautiful, life-sized doll named Coppelia to cure his lonely heart. The doll was so pretty and looked so real that a boy named Franz fell in love with Coppelia at first sight, even though he'd already told Svanhilda he would marry her. Svanhilda was furious when she caught Franz blowing kisses to Coppelia, but Franz ignored her anger. Later, Franz sneaked into the toy maker's house to see Coppelia, but the toy maker caught him. When the toy maker realized that Franz was in love with his doll, he had an awful idea. Maybe he could use Franz's love to turn Coppelia into a real girl. Lucky for Franz, Svanhilda had also sneaked into the toy maker's house out of curiosity, and she was still hidden inside. She overheard the toy maker's evil plan and decided to dress like Coppelia to confuse the old man. Once the toy maker believed that his doll had finally come to life, Franz escaped. After that, Franz realized what a fool he'd been, and he married Svanhilda. The two lived happily ever after. Misty loved how Svanhilda never lost sight of her goal or her real love. She knew she wanted to be Svanhilda. In just a few days, we will decide what roles you will dance in the performance, Miss Bradley said. Now, let's practice. First, there was a développé to ton du front, with one leg lifted forward and pointed foot gently touching the floor. Next was the rond de jambe to ton du front, with the legs stretched straight out in the front, making big circles and round in the air with the toes. Then it got a bit harder with the pas de bourrée, moving from side to side as one foot crossed over the other. They had such fun with the soutenu as the young dancers twirled and spun in unison. Finally, the lesson ended with simultaneous pas de bourrée again and again. Misty picked up the steps easily, following only a half a second behind the rest of the class. Have you ever danced Coppelia? Miss Bradley asked. Misty shook her head, nervously replying, I've never taken ballet before. Well, you're very good, Miss Bradley said. Come, she called to Misty and Kat, a younger girl who was full of energy. You two, up front. Misty could feel her heart pounding. Miss Bradley asked Kat to show Misty the dance of Coppelia. Coppelia sits in a chair on the balcony of the toy maker's house throughout the whole first act of the ballet. Kat held her arms in first position, then lifted her arms and turned her head like a robot, up and down, side to side. She performed the moves beautifully. When it was Misty's turn, she imitated Kat from memory. You are both very gifted, Miss Bradley said. As soon as Misty got home, everything about the new class and the Coppelia fairy tale tumbled out of her. I'm proud of you, Mummy said. Misty was so excited she could hardly sleep. She lay in bed thinking about the doll coming to life. Misty said her name aloud, Coppelia. It felt magical and full of mystery. The next day, Misty arrived early. Kat was there too, dancing the steps of Svanhilda. Oh no, Misty didn't know if she could compete with someone so talented. Soon, Miss Bradley arrived. Do you girls know which part you want to play in the recital? Misty held her breath as Kat answered, Coppelia. When the other dancers arrived, filling the studio with laughter, Misty and Kat stayed close, learning from each other. Kat's movements were sharp, while Misty's were soft. They tried to copy each other's style until they were giggling. At last, Miss Bradley was ready to audition the dancers to cast the parts that everyone would play in Coppelia. Nearly all hands shot to the ceiling to audition for Coppelia. Misty was nervous for Cat. But when Cat began to move, Misty knew no one would be able to outdance her. When it was time to dance the role of Svanilda, Misty was paired with a grinning younger boy named Wolfie, who was portraying Franz. Wolfie was on a mission to catch Misty's attention. The next day, Miss Bradley announced who would play what parts. Misty was excited when Cat got the part of Coppelia, and even happier when she won the part of Svanilda. The next few weeks were full of hard work for Misty. She had to perform both Svanilda and Coppelia when she tricked the toy maker into thinking she was the doll who had come to life. It was a lot to learn. Watching Cat dance her parts with such ease made Misty try harder. They inspired each other. The night of the performance, Misty was so excited. She couldn't keep still. Staring up at the heavy red curtain, Misty felt a hand on her back. "You okay?" Cat asked. Misty nodded. "I'm ready." And then the curtain was rising up and away. Bright spotlights spilled onto the stage, casting a spell of stillness that would only be broken by movement. In her tutu and braided bodice, Misty pranced onto the stage as Svanilda, with Wolfie playing the part of Franz. At the last lost in this dance, she felt the heat of the lights when she twirled and imagined she could see every face in the room, especially Mummy's. Misty smiled, proud of what she, Cat, Wolfie, and all the other dancers had accomplished together. She couldn't wait to see what they would do next. That's how Misty Copeland began her famous ballet dance career. She's still dancing now. She's only 41 or 42 years old. My next book is about how I grew up, sort of. It's called Baby Farm Animals. I grew up on a farm. It's by Merrill Windsor, and the first title page has a photo of fuzzy ducklings peek over summer daisies. Nose to nose, Russell and a piglet get to know each other. Russell lives on a farm. He likes the many animals there. Best of all, he likes the small young ones. He feeds them and cleans their pens. Baby farm animals need a lot of care. Have you ever been to a farm? This is a dairy farm. A long building where cows are milked is the milking barn. In the round tower called a silo, the farmer stores food for the cows. A cow cleans her brand new baby with her tongue. Not even 1 hour old, the calf is already trying to stand. Soon the calf is on its feet. Its legs are not very steady, but it can walk beside its mother. Dairy calves can be born at any time of year. Most of the time, a cow has one calf, but once in a while, twins are born. Like all mammals, cows nurse their babies. Dairy cows usually nurse their calves for the first few hours. Then the farmer will feed the calves from a bottle or a bucket. Only a few weeks old, a horse is learning to run with his mother. Female horses are called mares. Like cows, they usually have one baby at a time. Young horses are called foals until they are a year old. For several days, a mother hen lays eggs. She sits on them to keep them warm. She may even sit on eggs that are not her own. In 3 weeks, baby chickens are big enough to hatch. They break out of the eggshells. Chicks can walk almost as soon as they have hatched. They learn what to eat by watching the hens. Cluck, cluck. A hen is leading some chicks around the yard. Baby goats are called kids. Only 3 weeks old, these twins can climb and explore. A female goat is called a nanny. Searching for food, a goose shows her goslings around the farm. Pigs have big families too. Piglets always line up in the same order to nurse. The strongest piglet gets the best nipple. Like children, young farm animals seem to enjoy being together. Piglets often climb on top of each other while they rest. Do you think they are wrestling? By lying close together, they are keeping each other warm. These baby goats are butting heads. Kids are playful animals. Sometimes their play looks like fighting. On a farm where there is open space, it is easy for children to have pets. Animals make good companions. Some children give names to their pets. Lindsay named her fluffy lamb Buttercup. Baby animals can be fun to cuddle. A soft rabbit and a sleepy piglet both get a hug. Farm children often learn to ride horses. A farm is a good place for children to enjoy their pets. At a summer camp, city children have fun while learning how to do farm jobs. These children are giving a mother pig a cool shower on a hot day. The female pig is called a sow. To stay well, farm animals often need help from people. A farmer carries a new calf to the barn for shelter during a snowstorm. An animal doctor or veterinarian checks a newborn calf to be sure it is healthy. A girl helps another calf find one of its mother's nipples so it can drink the cow's milk right away. Sometimes animals help farmers do their job. On a ranch, well-trained horses help cowboys round up their cattle. A ranch is a large farm for raising cattle, horses, or sheep. On some farms, cows are milked by hand. This farmer treats a thirsty barn cat to a drink of milk. My dad did exactly what this farmer is doing in this picture. Cows are milked by machine on most dairy farms. These cows graze in a field until they're ready to be milked. Then they are taken into a milking parlor. There they are, milked by machines with tubes that suck the milk into glass tanks. The milk is then prepared for market. Do you know what foods are made from milk? Like milk, most eggs come from special farms. In chicken houses with rows of cages, the hens have food and water all the time. As the eggs are laid, they gently roll onto a moving shelf to be gathered. On some family farms, hens lay their eggs in houses called coops. Grandfather shares the chore of collecting eggs by hand. Another special kind of farm raises turkeys for market. On large farms like this one, the big birds can move around outdoors. The sheds give them shelter from sun and rain. Many boys and girls join clubs such as 4-H and learn farming skills. Some care for baby animals and their special projects. This girl gives her sheep a clipping to groom it for a fair. The children show their animals at the fair to judges who select the winners. John has won 3 prizes for his lamb, a happy end to his hard work. This little cat and this chick are talking, saying, "Whose barn is this anyway?" And on the cover, just 2 days old, twin goats look around curiously at their new world. Thank you for joining us today on Lunenburg Storytime.